Well, I really did want to go because my neighbors that lived next door to us, now they had 3 boys, and those boys were younger than me. They were like, you know, but they were real close, and I was with those boys a lot. We talked and we played records. They had a record player. I didn't have one. And they were our close neighbors, and our families had known each other for years, you know. And so her husband worked away from home. I can think he was in the timber business or something like that, but he came home on Saturdays. Well, they went to the wrestling match every Saturday night, and she was a big fan. She loved it. And all week long, she talked about that. Oh, and of course, that made me want to see that wrestling. I had never seen any wrestling, and my mother was just one. She didn't believe you should go to movies or to wrestling. It was sinful, you know, and it wasn't a good place. It wasn't good for people to go there, she thought. But I wanted to go anyway, and she made me want to go more. So when Grace asked me if I wanted to go, I said, my mother would not let me go to a wrestling match. And she said, well, now if you want to go, we'll pay your way, and we will not tell your mother. So really, I guess, not bragging, but I was a good girl. I was above the average. I really did obey my mother. She was real tight on me. Well, you know how some teenagers are. That don't work with them. They get out there and do, but I wasn't like that, Chris. When I finish this, you can know. See, I got a bad conscience, and I finally told her, but I really was, you know, I was one of the, I know the man up the street, when had been somewhere and come down the street. He was an older man. He lived with his son and his family there on the street that we lived on. And he said, right there goes the best girl in South Pittsburgh. Oh, of course he is old. But it was, I don't know whether I was the best or not, but I was one of the best. If, you know, I'm not saying, but other kids were wild, but I wasn't ever wild like that. And I'm not bragging about myself. I'm just telling you the truth, that I was just, my mother just, she shielded me from everything. I really didn't know what was going on out there. She let me work for these people because she trusted them. And I was making some money too to help us because we were poor, you know. And this couple, they were nice people. All 4 of these people were good people and nice people. And she trusted me with them. And see, that was on a Saturday night, and I always worked till after the movie was over in the wrestling match. And then they brought me home to my mother. And so when I got in there and sat down, I looked. There, my mother and Daddy was separated at that time. My daddy was living with Beulah and her family, which lived there in South Pittsburgh. Well, there was my daddy, there was Eloise Pelham, my niece, and Robert Lee Pelham, my nephew, that my sister's boy, where my daddy lived. And of course, there was my neighbors, him and her and those 3 boys. Oh, and that's all I remember seeing of somebody that would know how my mother was. Well, so that just was like pouring cold water over me. I knew that when that was over, I was going to have to see these people and tell them not to tell my mother. She doesn't know I'm here. So when it was over, and I didn't like it.
Well, tell me about what was the wrestling like?
Well, I don't like wrestling. You know, Dode liked it. He watched it on television. But to me, I like things sincere, I think. It looked to me like it was a frame. You know, they just looked like they had it fixed. You know what I mean? What would you call that?
Fake. Yeah, it's
fake. Fake. I thought, that's fake. But I saw it. I had a desire to see it. I saw it.
What did the guys look like that were wrestlers?
Well, it was just like these guys you see on television now. You know how they fix, and it looked fake to me. And so anyway, after it was over, I told Grace, that was her name, Grace and Herschel Matthews, the ones that had the store, that invited me and paid my way to go. Well, I said, I've got to see these people before I leave here. So I did. I went, I don't know who I went to first, whichever one was closest. And I said, now my mother doesn't know I'm here, and don't tell her. That's what I told my daddy and my niece and my nephew and my neighbors. Of course, my neighbors knew how my mother was, you know, and of course my dad and them, but obeyed my mother, and it was really bothering me. I was that kind of person. If I did something wrong, it bothered me, and I disobeyed her, even though I thought she was wrong. But I disobeyed my mother, and it went on for a while. I don't know if it's 2 weeks or less time or 3 weeks, but it wasn't long. And so finally, I just told her. I just told her.
And how'd you do that? Was it?
Well, we were just together there at home, you know, and I said, well, Mother, I want to tell you something. I went to the wrestling match with Herschel and Grace, and I said, I just wanted to see it so bad, and they asked me if I wanted to go, they'd pay my way, and I wanted to see it, and I went, and I said, now, you don't have to worry anymore. I said I didn't like it. I didn't care for it, so. And I thought sure she would tongue lash me. Now, she never whipped me, she tongue lashed me, which was, I'd rather had a whipping. And so she did not, she didn't tongue lash me, she didn't badmouth me. She said, well, Herschel and Grace will reap what they sow.